Joining me on the line now, it's Imran Shah, spokesperson for Muslim Public Affairs Committee. It is a UK leading organization for empowering Muslims to focus on intelligent political activism to demand their rights endorsement. Brother Imran, thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure indeed speaking to you. Thank you so much for taking our calls. We're taking more reactions, but more especially now taking what's the point of view, what's the position of the Muslim Public Affairs Committee, especially about the besieged by Indian troops. Kashmir now mourns loss of autonomy. Is India now turning Kashmir to another West Bank?
I mean, that is the great fear. The provisions that the Article 370 that India basically revoked stopped Indians from India basically buying land, settling, getting jobs, and essentially getting educational placements, and that was designed simply because the actual population, the actual amount of land that's livable in Jammu Kashmir is actually very small. It's very mountainous, very in terms of nature, very beautiful, very rich land to live in, and so the land that's available is actually relative in terms of livable land is actually very small. So the great fear now is that by revoking not just all the certain provisions in Article 370, but the whole article itself, and given the record of Modi in terms of the Gujarati riots, the massacres that he's been part of, and also the BJP, how they have been championing a very nationalist, self-supremacist ideology, that is generally the feeling is that this is going to be turning into another West Bank, and like it's something to worth noting here that when partition happened, when Pakistan and India as it is now it was formed, Kashmir and Jammu didn't get a chance to decide whether they want to be part of India or Pakistan, and so what India has done here is that they've just basically said, we are not going to give you, the Kashmiris, a voice of what you want. We're just going to simply take your land and just say that it belongs to India. So because it's disputed territory, it doesn't belong to either Pakistan or India at all. And by India doing this, they're essentially an occupying force in the same way that where Israel is when it comes to Palestine.
Indeed. Is it now? Well, there seems a great deal of debate on this issue. Is it fair to say this has now ended the autonomy of Kashmir?
Yes, very much so. At least Indian side. The fact that internet has been shut down, the fact that democratically elected representatives have been made in house arrest, India's making it clear that we don't care about your views, we don't care about certain policies that you have, we don't care about all the things that you want to have as Kashmiris. We're just simply going to impose our rule from Delhi, and we're going to govern you as we would govern any sort of province of India. So any form of autonomy that was there before, that was enshrined in Article 370, and given that it was completely removed, Kashmir has no way to basically to essentially assert their rights, apart from just essentially escalating this to the Supreme Court in India, which has happened, as well as the UN, and by essentially resistance. That's the only way they can assert their rights.
Indeed. Now, reverting to you now, do we need to start building a BDS movement against India? Is that idle?
I think we really need to start seriously considering that, simply because, if not the whole of India, but at least specific companies, celebrities, and other sort of notables that are affiliated, supportive of the BJP. Let me be clear. The BJP are essentially self-supremacists in the same way the Nazis are. They have an attitude that Indians are essentially more superior than everybody else, and this is illustrative in terms of their behavior, not just when it comes to Muslims, but also Sikhs and Christians as well. So when we're considering a self-supremacist government that is essentially touting itself to be acting democratically, very much like Israel, then we have to, and if they're acting as an occupying force and trying to essentially ethnically cleanse a people from the area, that very much like Israel, then we need to start thinking about BDS. And so this is, atrocities happen by the Indian Army, caused by the Indian Army, has been happening for decades, but it's never got to this point. And if morality and common sense and diplomacy does not work with India, then we really need to start hitting them where it hurts, and that's with the economy. At least the power players around this particular party doesn't have complete control over and influence over India in the way that the Zionist sort of ideology and the influence has over Israel.
When you look into this issue, Imran, it's a move that could have widespread consequences. So now, the thing is, what's behind this decision? And does it abide by the long-standing consensus over the territory?
Sorry, could you just repeat that question again?
All right. I'm saying when you look into this whole thing, it's a move that could have widespread consequences. So one would ask, what's behind this decision? And does it abide by the long-standing consensus over the territory?
So, I mean, in terms of internally inside the country, there has been a shift of public opinion of whether Kashmir should be annexed as it has been now, and this has obviously been a long-standing manifesto point of the BJP. This is not something that's just been magically sort of waved out of Modi's imagination. This has been a clear policy point that they would want to annex Kashmir in this particular way. So internally there has been a shift of opinion, and there is generally more consensus as there has been in the past when it comes to the issue of Kashmir. Obviously externally around the world, this is actually causing ripple effects. Obviously Pakistan has condemned that. China has condemned the move. They've expressed great concern because obviously this affects their Belt and Road project. Interestingly, UAE has supported India, and everybody, I think, is still trying to sort of decide what stance they're trying to get. In the UK, there has been a number of British MPs, both from Pakistani Kashmiri descent, as well as British white MPs that have written officially to the Foreign Office saying, can you use what you can to de-escalate the situation. But the government, whatever you make of Boris Johnson's government right now, the government hasn't actually made a stance on this yet. So this is very much a developing situation, but despite the fact that this is going to be something that we have to keep on monitoring, the support that the Kashmiris need is immediate, and they need it now. The support cannot be delayed, and so whatever we can do, whether it's lobbying our democratic representatives, whether it's protesting, whether it's even like considering boycotting some celebrities and one or two companies that fund the BJP. These are things that we can start to do to build up momentum and to show that we are, as people who care about humanity, we are a force to be reckoned with.
Indeed. Well said. Well put.